So in the census we've just had, apparently they identified 262,000 transsexuals. What is the correct term? I call them trannies, but I don't know if you're allowed to do that anymore.
No, it's now hate crime.
Is it that hate crime?
So now it's, I would imagine...
Could somebody report me to the, what is it called?
I would imagine it's transgender. But transgender is an umbrella term. It includes trannies, it includes a dozen things under trans.
Well, apparently they're now saying that they think that number's far too high, because apparently the way the census was phrased, and bear in mind we have a lot of immigrant communities who aren't great at English, it was confusing, so they think a lot of people who don't have a great command of English tick the tranny box when they weren't actually trannies, basically. So the number is apparently a lot less than 262,000, which is tiny anyway, considering all the publicity that trannies get in the country. That's one of the first things. The second thing that I'm really pleased to see is happening, and this isn't DEI, but it's all to do with the elite kind of agenda. There's been a 70% drop in Germany of sales of electric cars. So we're all going to be electric cars in the year 2025, I don't know, 2030.
2030, yeah, Labour's bought it for
me. Nobody's buying electric cars anymore. And there's a reason for it, because they're crap. Second-hand electric cars values in this country have halved in the last 2 years as well. So not only is nobody buying new ones, nobody wants to buy second ones either. And it's just the whole kind of the market is actually turning against these crazy ideas, and I think that's what's interesting about this. All these crazy equality, climate change ideas, at the end of the day, the market decides, or it starts to decide. There's only so far they can be subsidised.
But the reason why they created all these vehicles is because of subsidies.
Yes.
Government told them we want more electric cars. Yeah. So normally those electric cars would have been designed, built at a much slower pace to make sure customers wanted them, to make sure they were going to be used the way they wanted to use them. It would have been market driven. And
would have been developed in line with the way people were using them to encourage more people to use them.
Exactly, but it wasn't. It was all subsidies, and these companies went, we'll take your money and build stuff.
So we're still getting this climate change crap, although I think, again, correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, I think people are less focused on the climate change thing now than they have been. I think there's a shift again.
Yeah, there is.
The media haven't got there. There's a guy called Justin Rowlatt on the BBC. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's the environment. So he recently claimed that climate change is turbocharging the problems in Somalia, apparently. However, apparently Somalia's temperatures haven't changed in 100 years. Neither has their rainfall levels. But despite that, Justin Rowlatt, who's a BBC reporter, is claiming that the climate is turbocharging the problems in Somalia. So they keep perpetuating this crap, even though the data now doesn't support it. There was also recently in the New York Times, they tried to do a thing showing how much temperature is rocketing. They did a graph over the last 10,000 years. It's just like it's going, if you do it over time, it's actually going down temperature. Really dropping quite dramatically. So their kind of little study going that way. Every
prediction for the green agenda gloom has always turned out to be false.
Yes.
Every single prediction.
Yeah. There was actually I was going to note it today, but I can remember it. There was a video taken in the 70s. A woman on the news in America saying, if we don't take action in the next 10 years, society will end. There's the same guy saying it this year. If we don't take action in the next 10 years, society will end. Yeah. Now, there's three kind of poster boys, or there were three poster boys for the climate change agenda. One of them is polar bears. Do you remember that?
Yep.
Polar bears, they're dying out. It's a result of climate change. There was a picture of one polar bear on a small cube of ice floating out into the last polar bear. Have you heard anything about polar bears recently?
No, that stopped 20 years ago once the numbers exploded.
Yes. So there were 12,000 polar bears in the 1960s. There's now 26,000. So the polar bear thing, climate change killing it, it's absolute bollocks. Yep. It's been shown to be bollocks, basically. And nobody talks about it anymore. Yep. Do you remember the coral reefs in the Great Barrier Reef?
Oh, yep.
So that was big news.
The great bleaching.
The coral is dying out.
Yep. It's all rejuvenated.
They've recorded this year the highest ever coverage of coral since records began, basically. So that's why you don't hear about the coral reefs anymore.
It's because we know nothing.
we
don't know anything. When it comes to this planet, we really know nothing.
We don't, and we've been on it a speck of time as well.
And we think, oh, it's changed over the last 3 weeks. Yeah, but it's a couple of billion years old.
The Pacific Islands, you remember that one?
Yeah, all going to sink.
They're all going to sink. They're all being covered underwater.
Yeah.
So they've just released a survey. The Pacific Islands have actually increased in size in the last 10 years. But all these doom mongers, what's that American guy who's always going on about it? Al Gore. You remember, what was it called, that thing?
Inconvenient Truth.
The Inconvenient Truth. Yeah. He discusses all these things in his film, The Inconvenient Truth. Doesn't talk about them anymore now. Because it's just an absolute bloody nonsense, basically, that's happened. However, despite that, the Grangemouth oil refinery is going to close. They're closing that. They've just closed the Whitehaven coal mine, which was going to be opened under the Tories. They blocked that now. That isn't happening as well. So despite all this evidence that climate change, whilst climate change may exist, it's certainly not man created by man.
And now we're going to have to buy it all.
Yes, we're going to have to buy it all.
It's not like we're not going to use it. We're going to have to buy it off our enemies now. Russia, the Middle East, all these unstable places where we've got it under our feet.
Well, Tata.
Yep, steel.
So they've just been given 500 million by the UK government. Are you aware of that? So, but they're closing down their steel plant in Is it Newport?
Port Talbot.
Port Talbot. They've closed down in Port Talbot. But the news this week is they're opening a new blast furnace in India.
Of course they are, because there's no regulations. And guess who's going to buy this steel?
We are.
We are.
Yes.
And then we're going to ship it halfway across the world. All the jobs will be in India. All the profits and tax goes to India. And then we'll waste more diesel getting it to come here.
Yes.
And it's like, well, couldn't we have just had it here?
Yeah.
And we've got to be really careful with steel, because it's national security. We need steel. If there's a war, we're going to build planes and tanks and stuff like that. We need to be able to make our own steel. If not, we're in big trouble.
Yeah. So and I suspect some of that 500 million will find its way back into India to help fund
all of it will.
COVID.
And the Welsh government need punishing for this, because it's the Welsh Labour government who are banging on about the environment all the time. So if you live in Wales and you've lost your job, it's Welsh Labour you need to hold accountable. Did you enjoy that video? I think you did. Come on now, hit that bell, subscribe, comment. Let's build this channel. I need more followers, I need more subscribers. Be part of the journey. See you soon.